For 21 years, all supermodels, talent, and producers' checks were stolen. All charities at every church out of suburbia accepted their checks, and they didn't pay them. And they paid off school bloggers who were kicked out of their parents' house in order to be human trafficked, in order to work minimum wage, or to be a model, a talent, or a producer, or a full-time artist team. They were prostitutes out of suburbia for real estate and sales. Underneath accomplices and slave ship brands. Real supermodels, talent producers had an option with God to have nothing to do with anyone and to work when it's one sin that leads to hell, and they would be paid a direct deposit given without expecting anything in return. If they were a little bit moral, they paid the $20,000 when they needed $35,000 to be exploited for any job, including being the top percentage, except the top percentage needed more. They needed $550, and $550 is a referral, and another $550 through their network, more than a manager who makes $250. After 10 years of working, they had surgeries for $150,000. If people didn't pay them, they would die. Some of them don't need surgery because they have stem cell when they're exploited by every company as slave trade. They're not a slave trade brand in Cambodia when they're an anti-slave trade supermodel, talent, and producer. It's America as a referral for the other countries. Through Ford, who supported the ones to have a little bit of an allowance, paid too late. They looked online for assistant jobs, exploited by prostitute assistants. Occult leaders on care.com, and with law of attraction people for the Church of Scientology, all occultists. They want a prostitute to be an assistant in real estate and sales. It's a blessing for their families and the people who support them. They have to be paid by the top percentage when stable jobs were paid their checks from the occult when they were replaced by slave trade, supermodels, talent producers, their FBI doctors and lawyers, their police and their nurses, their medical sales reps. After 16-hour days for the past 20 years, it's all their network who needed support when the families wouldn't, all across the globe. They would never raise a 35 for baby boomers and their parents, understanding that that's an assistant job, not in an office or in any store, except the anti-slave trade ones did in-store promotions so they were replaced by slave trade. They're supported by the government, by all the other gods, because they don't worship the other gods. That's why they survive, and it's a blessing for all their networks to have the highest security. Because they don't worship a crusader, a false prophet, agreeing with sins, agreeing with stepping on people for food, sex, money, comfort, security, provision, anything. An image before God. They have the highest security. Everyone's on their side, knowing they're exploited by their boss. Slave trade. Accomplices, party promoters, and prostitutes. They pay to do it. Because the FBI doctors and lawyers had to get their rails and resume for their own business, which is a conglomerate. Supermodels, talent producers, their full-time artist teams, exploited by every company as slave trade brands in Cambodia. It's supermodels in China and Asia who are the referral for celebrity sales. But it's through the US, and it's through me, through Ford Supermodel of the world. Playboy exploits them online for the 21st year, but they can be paid according to federal law. They were the only one to go in and see slave trade and be exploited by it, being called by God to be exploited by Babylon. They risked their lives to be anti-ISIS, be an assistant for their family, or protect their family. But since the year 2000, if they weren't paid their checks, they left and they were homeless. And if you make them homeless, you become homeless. And God exacts life for life.
A blessing for those who bless you. It's your own personal business, supporting God. Supporting God's calling for their life and their agency by paying and protecting and killing slave trade enemies. Or worshiping Satan, a brothel, falsely accusing them.